Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to your Sunday edition of Wasatch Weekends. I'm your host, Maddie Evans, and we love getting to be here every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to bring you great information about community happenings and some things that you might not know. One of which being how to protect yourself from insurance fraud. Now, this is really important, and especially if you're a first-time home buyer, so we're going to give you some tips and tricks on that here in just a moment. And then Julio had a chance to talk about the Statue of Responsibility. And if you're like me, you're asking what that is, so we're going to give you more information on that. But first, we're going to take a look at that local weather forecast right now. If you're a first-time home buyer, or maybe you're moving or you're in the process of buying a home, home insurance is something that everyone needs homeowner insurance. So homeowners beware and don't fall for any insurance scams, and we're going to teach you how not to right now.
Something many people might not realize is when a natural disaster occurs, homeowners are actually at a risk of fraud. So joining us now, we have David Glaoui, who's the president and CEO of the National Insurance Fraud Bureau. Insurance Crime Bureau. David, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
How are things going this morning? How are we doing?
We're doing great. We're out here in Chicago, expecting some bad weather later this afternoon.
Oh boy, oh boy. All right, well, speaking of natural disasters and fraud, can you tell us a little bit about what happens sometimes when a natural disaster happens?
Sure, I'll give you a little background information on just the impact of catastrophic events in the U.S. and how they've increased exponentially. Last year, we had $93 billion losses from insurance claims related to catastrophic events. That's a record year. We had 28 events over $1 billion in losses. As an example, in 1980s, we had a $1 billion loss event every 80 or so days. Last year, we had a $1 billion loss every 12 days. So what we see is criminal enterprises operating, and they operate like business, driven by money, and they flood into areas where these insurance claim dollars have gone to the victims of these catastrophic events to prey on them against. They've been a victim of a catastrophic event, and then they're victimized by these criminal enterprises that are operating through the United States. Actually, they operate worldwide.
Yeah, and David, can you explain exactly how homeowners are being victimized, like kind of these tactics that they use?
So people are incredibly vulnerable after an event. They're stressed. There's been loss of property, and God forbid there's been loss of life or severe injury, and they're looking to get back on their feet. They're contacting their insurance carrier to get the claim payment, and that's where the trouble starts. These predators come in, they knock on your front door, they call you on the phone, they send a random email, and people respond because they want to move quickly, and that's the danger. You need to slow down. Be methodical. Work through your insurance carrier to get 3 bids from vetted contractors that the insurance industry can help you find. But these predators, these criminal enterprises, prey on your vulnerability and prey on you because you want to move quickly to get yourself and your family back on your feet.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. Obviously, it's hard to put yourself in those shoes, but obviously a stressful situation. And what are you and your team at NICB doing to help folks?
Yeah, in Colorado, you've seen a large increase in natural disasters. Over the last 20 years, you've seen almost a 300% increase in natural disasters, generally with wildfires. We operate in all 50 states and United States territories. Colorado is one of our best partners. We have agents embedded in different law enforcement departments to investigate fraudulent contractors. We pass information directly from over 1,300 insurance carriers involving claims and fraudulent claims, and work directly with law enforcement to help draft affidavits, to help with search warrants, and to be expert witnesses to testify against these fraudulent actors. We're there for the community to help prevent it, but also investigate and prosecute it after we find these criminal actors.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And what you know, how can people kind of prepare themselves for a natural disaster and also to avoid fraud? How can people prepare?
Thanks for that question. And there's a key thing here. It involves the environment we're in after COVID and inflation. Over the last 4 years, we all know inflation's been up in the United States. Your home is worth more, your property is worth more, your car is worth more. To replace it, you need to contact your insurance carrier to make sure your policy coverages are up to date with what your home and your property is worth to replace it. You need to contact your insurance carrier now because you will not be covered after an event. You need to contact before to make sure your policy is up to date, that it's kept up with inflation. Also, make sure you store your documents, if you have paper copies, in a place that won't be affected by an event, in a safety deposit box or a fire safe. Most carriers have them stored electronically, but you want to ensure you have those policy documents available if an event does occur.
Awesome. And whether you're a new homeowner or a longtime homeowner, what are some signs people can look out for a dishonest contractor?
Some of the key things is saying that they are approved by FEMA, or they're there to interpret your insurance policy. They'll solicit you proactively. They'll knock on your door. They'll call you on the phone or send you an email. All of those are telltale signs of a fraudulent actor. Your insurance carrier is your first stop to vet your contractors, to get the ones that are doing business in that state or area of the country that have been vetted by the carriers, because the carriers do not want to pay a fraudulent claim as well. So go through a slow, methodical process. Also, do not pay with cash and do not put down a large sum of money as a down payment. Reputable contractors will require a down payment, but usually they're within 2 to 5% of the contract. Anything more, if your spidey sense goes up and there's something suspicious, walk away. Contact your carrier, go to another contractor.
Yeah, and David, is the crux kind of when that money changes hands there? Are you kind of done, you know, kind of out of it once you exchange money there? Where's the kind of crux of the transaction?
So there's a couple avenues where these criminalizers, when the money does transfer, they may walk you along, do a little bit of the services such as the demolition processes on a home or debris removal, and they'll get you to make additional payments. A lot of people will generally not pay an entire contract. They may pay a portion of it. And these fraudulent actors will normally try to drag you along a little bit up front to get those larger down payments from you that are associated with the contract, because there will be a fraudulent contract associated with this. So it's going to be a process of taking that money from you. Spidey sense. If it feels suspicious, if it feels wrong, it probably is. Walk away. Contact law enforcement. But the key thing before anyone starts working with these contractors is work with your insurance carrier. Their role is to help you get back on your feet and to help you get a good, reputable contractor. They're there to help you.
Yeah, and speaking of help, what resources are out there to help folks? Obviously, their carrier is the primary one, but what resources are available for homeowners?
So NICB.org is our website. We have the Contractor Fraud Awareness Week Toolkit. It talks about what we've discussed today. There's also ways to file criminal complaint. We work directly with all 50 states and U.S. territories with the Attorney General's Office or the Division of Insurance to file the criminal claims and work with law enforcement to ensure the community is represented and their complaints are taken.
Awesome. Obviously, this could be a stressful topic, but it sounds like there's help and light at the end of the tunnel. Is that right?
There's a lot of help out there. We are the touch point for that. But with these large dollar amounts flowing into communities, these criminal enterprises operate like businesses, and that money attracts them. So we're always going to have these fraudulent contractors out there. Our job is to make the community aware and try to stay one step ahead of them.
Awesome. David, thanks so much for joining us this morning. That's hopefully a situation not many people find themselves in, but definitely one you want to be prepared for if you are as a homeowner. Anything else we should ask you? Anything else you want to add, David?
No, thank you for having me, and go to our website at nicb.org. If you think you've been a victim of fraud or you've dealt with a fraudulent contractor, file a complaint with us or call law enforcement in your area. We're there to assist you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for all you guys do at NICB, David, and thanks for joining us this morning. Kind of a heavy topic, but yeah, definitely won't be prepared for that one if you're a homeowner. So check out nicb.org.
What is the statute of responsibility? That's a question I've been asking. Well, Julio had the chance to sit down, talk about it, and bring us some great information. So let's take a look at the statute of responsibility.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Now, if you remember, you might remember that we've been following along the journey of the Statue of Responsibility, which will be getting built here in Utah. And to give us some updates and tell us a little bit about the continuing work of this incredible movement, we have President and CEO of the Statue of Responsibility Foundation, Steve Cohen, here with us today. Steve, thank you so much for being with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully. It's great to be with you and talk to Salt Lake through Park City TV.
Absolutely. We've been following along, as I mentioned, the journey of the Statue of Responsibility. We had Lisa and Gary a few months ago on the show talking a little bit about the work, but it's really such an honor to hear from you and to maybe get some updates and kind of what's been happening with the Statue of Responsibility, an incredible movement. And I know you are currently in Utah right now, so tell us, Steve, what brings you to Utah today?
Yeah, well, today I'm here to take a few meetings and talk to some legislators about the Statute of Responsibility. And tomorrow, most importantly, we're meeting with a group called the Point of the Mountain Authority, which, as you know, used to be the site of the old prison and now is going to be redeveloped.
Right.
And that is exactly the location. We've asked for about 6.5 acres there where we could build our monument to the idea of acting responsibly. It's really sort of that simple. It's a 305-foot monument that we think is, it's not an attraction. You know, we really think this is a attraction that has purpose and meaning because that's what it's about. And like the Statue of Liberty, we think it'll bring people from all over the world to Utah. And so we're going in front of the what's called the POM Authority, which is charged with what goes into the development. And this will be our second major meeting. We had our first meeting back in November. We've done a lot of work on the statue as well as the requirements of Utah. And so this is meeting number 2 in front of the board. And then we hope after this meeting that sometime early summer we'll get final approval for the placement of the statue. So that's why I'm here.
That's absolutely amazing. And I want to talk a little bit more about kind of this whole the process of meeting with the commission and stuff in a little bit. But before we get to that, Steve, I kind of want to take a little step back and for you to remind us and give us a little bit of background on what the Statue of Responsibility Foundation is and what you all are attempting to do in Utah and why Utah specifically.
Yeah, well, the derivation of the idea came from the book, A Man's Search for Meaning by the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, who came to know Stephen Covey, as you all know, an advocate of positive psychology here in the state of Utah and worldwide. They came together and Frankl said, you know, we need something that represents the need to have responsible civic, without responsible action, liberty can go away. So as an adjunct to the Statue of Liberty on the East Coast, let's build a Statue of Responsibility on the West Coast.
Right.
So about 15 years ago, Gary and Lisa began the quest of that and met with Frankl's widow and talked about it. And then Gary, the great sculptor that he is from Utah, created the Statue of Responsibility. I joined them about 12 years ago as a board member. And since 2017, I've been president of the organization. It's a 501c3 not-for-profit. And we're not asking for any money from the people of Utah. This is a gift, just like the Statue of Liberty was a gift from France to the people of America. This is a gift to Utah. Why Utah? Because there's this thing called the Utah Way, where people in Utah are able to put aside their differences and look forward to creating something that is about the common good.
Right.
This does not happen everywhere in America, but we do think it happens in Utah. So this ideal of acting responsibly, I think, is already here in Utah. And when the POM opened for us, we all said, why don't we rethink not being in California and think about being in Utah?
Now, Steve, it's been 15 years of hard work, 15 years in the making, and we're kind of reaching that finish line, and we're in that process of getting the approval. And I know, as you mentioned, you're going to be meeting with the Point Commission this week. Tell us a little bit about that process and how it's been, and where are you in that process?
Well, we're at stage 2 in the process. We think it's only 3 stages. It's a deliberative process because the authority wants to make certain that whatever they decide to place there can actually be realized. And of course, that's always a question mark of any development, whether it's a statute of responsibility or not. When you think of the statute, you have to think of it of basically being a 305-foot high-rise building. If you think of it that way, then you get an idea of architecturally what we're trying to do. And the point of the mountain has environmental concerns, concerns of traffic, revenue concerns, a variety of criteria that we had to prove to them that we're meeting. We think that today we have met all the criteria, and I will present all of that tomorrow. We have established an architect in Utah. We've established a construction company. We think we have figured out the internal structure and the outside molding from a foundry in Utah that Gary already owns. So we think we're there. But this process is a long one and difficult, I must admit. I mean, it's just very deliberative and very thoughtfully done. And that's good for Utah, and it's also good for us because we want to make sure that both sides are in agreement and that we have a strong handshake as we go forward.
Absolutely, Steve. Well, best of luck with that meeting. I'm sure it'll go great. And as you said, you guys have been working and prepping a lot. So we wish you the best of luck with that. And you kind of also touched on this briefly before, but I know, as you mentioned, this will be a gift to the state of Utah and to the people of Utah. And you really are depending on donations and private funding, you know? So tell me a little bit about that and how optimistic you are that the general public will support you through donations.
Well, the major capital fund will be with people of high net worth and organizations and foundations of high net worth. So when we talk about the individuals participating, of course, we want people to come in. But that's small funds for operations, not the big funds for the capital raise. We're looking to raise between $250 and $300 million to build the statue from groundbreaking until completion. We think that that's a trajectory of probably 2 to 3.5 years from the time we break ground. And therefore, we're asking the citizens of Utah just to become part of the project, embrace it, show up, and be part of all the events we'll have along the road as we begin to build it. We think that Utah is a place where people will really embrace this. And by the way, we've got this thing called the Olympics coming too. Right. And to have this statute of responsibility here in Utah when the Olympics come back, I think it'll be extraordinary bringing together of the will of the people of Utah to say something to the world about responsibility.
Absolutely, Stephen. And along those lines, and you know, we're talking about bringing people together. What can we do as a community? What can the people of Utah do to help get this message across, this message of responsibility? Or what do you say to all the viewers watching who might not completely understand what you guys are doing? What is your message to the community?
I think it starts small. Go to our website, which is statueofresponsibility.org, and look at the website. There's so much there for you to participate in and get the knowledge that you want at any depth that you want about it. And then from there, if you're in favor of it, and we hope that you will be, then you want to talk to your local boards, your local mayors, and then also to your representatives about why you think the statue is valuable to the state of Utah and why you wish to embrace it. The statute is just the beginning. It starts a movement that we think will be global. And by the way, this is not just another thing. There is nothing else happening on the planet that we live on. We are the Mount Rushmore, the Eiffel Tower, and the Statue of Liberty of the moment. And for Utah to be part of and for all of us to participate in it in our own lifetime.
Absolutely, Steve. Well, there you have it, folks. You can visit statueofresponsibility.org to find out more information. And we'll be continuing to follow this amazing journey. As Steve mentioned it, a movement, much more than an attraction, a movement of responsibility. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today, and best of luck with the rest of your work.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Steve. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with more of the show. So stick around with us, and we'll be right back.
We want to thank you so much for tuning into your Sunday edition of Wasatch Weekends. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow for your Monday edition. Now, I don't know about you, but my mind was completely blown over the Statute of Responsibilities. Now, if you are someone who is in the market for homeowners insurance, just make sure that you're being safe about it. That way you avoid all of those scams. I've been your host, Maddie Evans. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow.